I'm Corrine, and gotta be a little honest with you, recording pre-made videos is something I've been avoiding. I actually do a lot better on lives. I don't know why, but it's been coming through to me strongly for a while now, but very strongly recently, and I've been invited, which if you're familiar with human design, I am a projector, and my strategy is to wait for the invitation, and I was recently invited to really start utilizing this platform more. So that's what I'm doing. So I am not a pro YouTuber, photo, video editor, or anything like that. So bear with me as I get my bearings around this whole process. But the reason that I'm here, okay? So just so that you understand a little bit of who I am and why I would be talking about this, I am a psychic, intuitive energy healer. I am a Reiki practitioner. I am a channeler. I am a tarot reader, an oracle reader. I am very much a direct connection, and my gifts have been rapidly opening. Especially, I've known forever that I've had these gifts, but they've been rapidly expanding in the last 2 years, and then again, I feel like I'm having another rapid expansion in the last couple weeks. And I think a lot of people that are on this path can probably speak to the same type of experience. And I always have been a channel in the way that I speak, and I don't plan, and things just kind of come through me. But recently, I've been having channels like I listen to from other channelers, where I feel like I fully step aside and something else comes through, and I have to record to go back and listen to it again. And I just really have been getting the downloads that I need to do more than just go live on Instagram, because the way that Instagram works is that doesn't really stay important for long. Whereas on YouTube, if you are searching a specific thing that brings you to this video, it's kind of timeless in that it will suggest it for you, therefore making this message more readily available to those that are seeking it. Okay, so that's why I'm here. So I just got back about 2 days ago from a family vacation. We spent a week in Jamaica, myself, my husband, my mother-in-law, my two children. It was very, very needed. We originally booked this back in 2019, so we know why it might have taken us a while to get there. And I kept telling myself I knew that something was going to happen while I was in Jamaica. Aside from, vacation, crystal clear waters, and being with my family and taking the workload responsibility off of me, I just had a feeling that something was going to be important. The first time I ever experienced clear water was on my honeymoon back in 2018 in the Bahamas. And I didn't understand at the time what was happening, but it was very much an activation for me. The second I laid eyes on that ocean, which I had never seen before — I'm from Philadelphia, if you can't tell from my accent. So the Jersey Shore is the most of my exposure really to the ocean, and seeing that water, that white sand, something in me activated. I couldn't get out. I don't even think I went in the pool. I don't remember what the resort looked like. I literally was just in that ocean all the time. And I would just say over and over to my husband, and at the time I was like half joking, like, oh, I'm a mermaid, I'm a mermaid. And as time kind of unfolded, I started to really understand this concept of star seeds, which I still don't fully get the ins and outs of. So I don't consider myself to be like a star seed specialist, because I know that there's people out there that like specialize in star seeds and connecting to galactic beings. And whereas I do connect to galactic beings, and I definitely have tapped into those lifetimes, it's not my main purpose, but I surely believe that I come from Lemuria, or more specifically Mintaka, and the clear water speaks to me and activates me and does something to me. So I knew that by being in that ocean, near the ocean, something was going to happen. And I had a lot of different things occur, and that's what I want to talk about. So this video, again, no real strategy. I'm a channel. I have my journal here and an intention that I want to bring you something that was brought to me in a dream. But I know that there will probably be some more things added to that, maybe a little bit of education. And I consider this, for those of you that are aware of the grand solar flash and the massive awakening and the great event and the starseed awakening and anchoring in the light and the transition and splitting of timelines that's taking place between the light and the dark, you will really enjoy the dream aspect, the message that came in my prophetic dream. And then for those of you, I'm going to also, that maybe don't know as much, I'm going to include a little bit of solar flash grand awakening 101s, to kind of help you understand what I'm talking about. Okay. So that being said, a little bit of background. So for those of you that are here watching this video, if you've been brought to my channel, chances are you have heard these terms before, okay? Star seed, solar flash, all of the solar flares maybe you're aware of that are being tracked on the Schumann resonance, okay? Maybe you're following people on Instagram that break down the Schumann resonance daily for you, break down the amount of solar flares and coronal mass ejections we're experiencing. And that's the thing, like our sun, our grandson has been emitting solar flares, okay? These energies at our earth at a rate and a degree that has really never been experienced before. It's happening every single day. Now, you might have seen things maybe in an article or on Google like, oh, solar flare, like NASA. They're not even skimming the top of what's going on here, okay? So chances are, again, if you're watching this, you've heard of it, or, you're here because maybe you are a little suspicious of the things being pushed on us the last few years. Maybe the intentions behind certain people's in power and what they're trying to accomplish to the community as a whole. Maybe a lot of control, control mentally, physically, reproductively, experimentally, I watch what I say because we get flagged easily here, but if you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying. So you may or may not have heard in the spiritual community that there is this great event that they are waiting for, the grand solar flash, okay? And again, this is not to go against anybody's beliefs. I'm simply sharing what resonates with me and the messages that came through to me. This is certainly an open discussion. I am not anything, right? We are all just one together. So nothing makes me more important or knowledgeable than anybody else. But I keep myself open to these channels, and it has been made very clear to me that I need to start doing more with the messages I receive, and that's why I'm here, stepping out of my comfort zone, doing a YouTube video. So again, this is just what resonates with me and the messages that I have received. Now, I have read things in the past that said when this grand solar flash happens, it's basically going to wipe out Earth as we know it. And I've seen people literally talk about galactic beings coming in with ships and taking the light workers and those on the positive timeline up to a whole new planet called New Earth. I've seen them say that Gaia, Mother Gaia, that basically the soul of Earth has left and moved to another planet and is waiting for us. I personally don't resonate with that. I do not see us leaving this planet. I don't see us leaving Earth. I don't think Earth's soul has left. And that's just what I believe. But I do believe that the energy of what is described is what's going to occur. I don't really think it's going to be something that is necessarily so physically manifested in that some grand solar flare of fire comes in and wipes out Earth. I don't see that happening, but I do see the energies of this picking up, and I'm not even going to call it a picking up of the sun. The sun has picked up. It's been picked up. We've been getting hit with these for a long time. Whether you realize or not, you may have even had a lot of symptoms from them. It can come out in a lot. I mean, you think about it. It's like natural radiation coming, like intense energies from the sun hitting us over and over again. So that's going to cause all kinds of different things. If you're not constantly anchoring in, and doing a lot of energetic work, you're going to experience it. You're going to experience things from irritability to emotional to being completely wiped out, where you're like, why am I so fucking exhausted? Like, I don't even understand. This doesn't make sense. low motivation, basically anything. There's all types of different symptoms that you can experience from these energies, especially when it ties into different astrological placements. There's just so much happening right now. But that's because what we see with the naked eye here on earth, what we see on TV, what we see on social media, a lot of it is a distraction. A lot of it is, and I fall victim to this. I am every day it's like I wake up and it's like, Corrine, don't share political memes today. Don't share political memes today. Because I don't intend to spread a vibration of like a lower vibration through talking about political things. When everything first happened, like with the forcing of the thing and all that, like I was angry and full of rage, and that showed, and I was very much passionate about educating about it. But it's to the point now where if people don't understand what's going on, they're choosing not to. So I have to shift from a place of constantly feeling the need to educate and spread awareness to finding a healthy balance to spreading more light and positive energy than just knowledge, information, and exposure of truth. Because if you're not seeing the truth by now, you're choosing not to. And I'm not here to shake anybody out of their will, but what I am here to do as a light worker, as a starseed, as someone that chose to come here now and incarnate here now on this planet for this reason, my job is to raise the vibration with the collective, with you. If you are watching this, this is not you. I don't think that you need to go take a quiz to see if you qualify. If you were drawn to this video, if you're drawn to this community, you're here for a reason, and you're here to discover what that is. Okay? So that comes through what I'm going to start to talk about is the shedding of the ego. Okay? So ego, right? A lot of people think of ego, they think I'm conceited, I think I'm better than everybody else, like cocky, that kind of thing. Whereas, sure, that is absolutely a component of an inflated ego. The ego is all types of shapes and sizes. The ego is basically anything or voice in your head that takes you away from your root, from your soul. And so many of us have never even met our soul self because we have been programmed by other people's egos and past lives and societal programming to the point where before we could even really lock in conscious thought patterns, we've already had tons of egotistical programming within and around us. So it's our job right now. This is coming through so strong. This came through in one of my channels while on the beach. I had a dream that I will tell you about. It basically flew me out of bed at 5:30 in the morning. I landed on the beach and I was channeling. And these messages were coming through. And that's what I'm going to get to. But you're probably being called now, consciously or unconsciously, to figure out who it is that you are, okay? Things that maybe resonated with you and brought your ego comfort in the past maybe aren't really working anymore. So the voice of the ego sounds like a mean bully in your head, telling you that you're not good enough, or you're not qualified enough, or you're not pretty enough, or you're not experienced enough, or you're not cool enough, or you don't have enough of this, enough of that. Anything that has enough, that's your ego, that you don't have enough of something, enough money, whatever, right? An aesthetic enough backdrop to record a video. That's what I would tell myself all the time. Well, I live in a row home. I don't have a lot of room. I have a desk at the foot of my bed, and I can't have a cool YouTube channel. Well, guess what? It's time to let that go. Okay? So here I am, shedding that part of my ego. The fear, ego is fear, right? So the fear that I won't be skilled enough in editing for people to want to stay engaged, right? Making cool sounds and intros and subscribe here and click the bell. Of course I don't know how to do that. I haven't done it yet. That's how you learn, right? Fears are the ego, that if you let go of something, you will crumble, you will fall, you will lose everything, that you will not be supported. That is your ego. The ego is any voice in your head scaring you, telling you that for whatever reason you need to stay small, you need to stay in a comfort box, you need to stay distracted. So distractions can look like materialism. Distractions can look like obsessing over money, obsessing over the latest, coolest new thing, okay? Not being able to take a ride. I'm guilty. There was a point in my life where up until a certain age, I couldn't even go for a ride by myself. I wanted to call someone to come with me because being alone just seemed that uncomfortable for me. That's ego, 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 right? So we're really being called to shed our egos so that we can expose our souls and then discover who we are and then be able to tap into this collective consciousness, this collective energy, the voice that is subtle but so strong that is sometimes too hard to hear through the shell of the ego. Okay? So this is a big tower moment if you're familiar with tarot. The tower card is so much about letting things fall away that scare you. Things that you thought would be a part of your foundation forever. Your strongest brick in your foundation is now leaving suddenly, and that's bringing up all types of things, childhood fears and traumas about not being good enough, maybe being abandoned, feeling like you need to overperform to bring them back, shrinking yourself to try to keep someone or something around, when deep down that soul is telling you that you are meant for more and that you will be held and safe if you let go. That is what we are experiencing right now, okay? So it is said, for those that know of this grand solar flare, this grand solar flash, this timeline split, this separation, right? And I get, for those of you that are not familiar with this sounds really woo-woo, but it's not. The timeline split, you can jump timelines without even realizing you've jumped timelines before. Even if you don't know what I'm talking about, you've quantum leaped into different timelines where you go from one stage of being to another stage of being where it almost doesn't make sense. Like for me personally, I had a pretty traumatic childhood with different things that went on, with a lot of stuff with my mom, different things. But it was pretty significant. And I spent a lot of my life in this story that I was worthless and damaged, and almost felt like it was my duty to fulfill the role of the, fucked up kid, right? The one that was sad and depressed and self-harming and blacking out on alcohol starting at the age of 12. When my sister was murdered, then I assumed that role. I was now the murdered sister's sister, you know what I mean? And I was the one that people wanted to save. And, nobody that knew me at that time expected me to ever end up here, whether that meant owning my own houses, having children, being a present mother, a successful business owner. I don't think people expected me to be here, but especially operating from a high vibration. And I used to say, like, I'm psychic, and I've had intuitives tell me when I was at the most suicidal stages of my life that I was meant to be a Reiki healer, and I was like, what are you talking about? I didn't even know what Reiki was, but it's cool to see it unfold. But the moral of that story is, I always said this as like a joke, and it's funny, the things that I used to say, right, unconsciously, not realizing the truth behind them, like, I am a mermaid, I'm psychic, like, I'm joking, right? I used to say I feel like I was abducted by aliens around the age of 20-something and just plopped back on Earth, because I went from, struggling with depression, suicidal thoughts, addiction, and just really not heading in the right direction, to this moment of grace where I had my first spiritual awakening and everything changed. And my experience with everything changed, and how I experienced other people, and how I experienced life, and how I experienced my past. It all changed. And that was my first experience with a spiritual awakening. And that is the true definition of a timeline jump. I went from here to here just through one event. Okay? And we go through these events naturally, this spiritual awakening, or by allowing or being interested, or just by a window of grace where maybe we weren't doing anything that was heading us in that direction, and Source Creator was like, you have more important things to do, and picks you up and puts you somewhere on the right track. So if you're here, you probably know what I'm talking about. So this timeline split is where the experience that those have been experiencing, especially those that have been aware of the truth, that have probably felt a lot of rage, fear, anger, are no longer going to be operating from that space, okay? It's this positive timeline where none of that exists anymore, and this negative timeline where all the things you're afraid of is what you're experiencing. Um, so yeah, that's the timeline split, and that's what they project happen with this grand solar flash. And some say that the negative timeline will stay here, and the positive timeline will go to another planet. I don't. That does not resonate with me. Um, so let's get to the dream because that's what's going to tie this all in, okay? So in the dream, I was recording the moon from afar, and I was in Jamaica in the dream, but in the dream, I was also in Jamaica. And, it's funny, I don't remember my dreams really because I feel like I really travel astrally and do a lot of work when I'm asleep, but I can still see the visuals from this dream. And, those of you that have ever had a dream like this where it is very clear that you were given a message from a benevolent being, you just know. Um, my daughter, Elia, was named by benevolent beings in a dream. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night. It was like 333, and I'm shivering and I'm ice cold, and I just couldn't. And it was just this energy, and I couldn't settle. And I was like, "Oh my God, what just happened? That was crazy." I'm like calling my husband, like, "I can't get warm. Get the blankets. Get the blankets." I'm like 36 weeks pregnant, and you just know. There's no doubt in your mind. Like, you just know. And that's what this was, okay? So I was recording the moon from afar. Here's the dream, right? I was in Jamaica, and when I was recording the moon, now mind you, I arrived in Jamaica a couple days late because when we were boarding the plane to go for our original trip, we were literally boarding the plane and Jamaica air traffic went on strike and our trip got canceled and we had to get off the plane and it got moved. And the day that we went happened to be a full moon in Scorpio. So we arrived on the full moon in Scorpio, and I also started my moon cycle that day, which was odd for me because I'm pretty irregular with a recent PCOS diagnosis. I'm thinking that I'm just aligning with the moon, honestly, since I've been doing so much work with that through my collective Reiki healings. But regardless, the moon, right? So it was pretty important for this trip already. And now I'm recording it in the dream. And I could see in the recording as I'm looking, like I see the moon, but I saw all the other planets next to the moon, and they were super clear as if I was looking at a telescope. But I was seeing it in the sky that I can see here, not as if I'm looking into space, okay? And this was so beautiful. And then the sun started shooting out red flares. It was almost like, imagine literally I think of like a video game, like flare gun or something shooting. That's what the sun was doing, and it was deep red. So the sun was yellow, but I saw the flares in a deep red forming around it, and the deep red flares would shoot down at the earth. And at this point there was a lot of ego involved, right? So by ego, I mean fear. So even though I knew what these solar flares were, I was allowing myself to be afraid. And I was telling my kids and everybody, take cover, solar flares shooting down at the earth. And I knew that another round was going to be coming. And while we were waiting, it's funny, like I was saying that the ego was coming up a lot. Like that I was acting like this was a bad thing or a scary thing, even though I've had so much preparation and knowledge in this community that this is the good thing and this has been happening anyway. And at this waiting period, there were people that popped up in my dream that represented ego to me, like very egotistically based people that are very prominent in their ego, like it can be felt when you're near them. And I was then acting from ego again, because first it was the fear, telling everyone to take cover. Then it was like, I knew this was coming, like using my ego to tell people, like, I'm prepared. I already knew about this, like needing to know the information or have the information. But then it started to morph there. It went from the people that were representing ego to me start to leave. And I started to turn from I knew as this is necessary for there to be love, for there to be light, for the light to win. And it started to change. And when that changed, I'm just making this connection now. When that changed, when I made that shift from fear and ego, the people that represented ego to me phased out. And instead of red flares coming from the sun and shooting down to the earth, instead they still resonated as solar flares in the dream, but it looked like, if you could imagine looking at the sky and just having one big blanket of cloud, white, but there was a circular opening in the middle. And instead of red fire coming through this hole, I want you to imagine like someone smoking and blowing smoke rings. It looked like smoke rings of cloud instead, radiating and shooting down on the earth. So when you took the ego away, it went soft and it wasn't scary. And I just knew that this was it. And this was the moment we've been waiting for. And I could calmly bring peace and calmness to the people around me, and just my knowing that this is what was necessary to happen. So these rings of cloud were shooting down, and when the rings hit the earth, a person would pop up out of the dust, out of the smoke of the cloud. And as these people popped up from these rings, they were holding light bulbs. And someone walked towards me. I'm getting chills. I can still see them. Walked towards me, handed me the light bulb, and when my hand went to reach it, the light bulb illuminated brightly, and I jumped awake. And I remember having the same feeling I had when my daughter was named in my sleep. And I was just like, wow. Like it was 5:30 in the morning, vacation. There was just no way I could go back to bed. I was so energized. So, I got up, jumped out of bed, got dressed, tiptoed around my kids, went out to the beach. I literally had to take my energy and go for a run. I went for like a couple mile run on the beach. I had my cards. I brought oracle cards, and I was channeling, and I started doing journal prompt writing channeling. And I'm going to share with you now what came up with that. And it's funny because in reflecting on this whole experience, whether it's the whole vacation itself, the energy of the collective, the moon influences, the journal that came after, it all makes sense and ties together now with the ego, where if I was to just think about my dream and not have journaled this or did this channel writing, it wouldn't have made much more clarity type sense. Then I come home and I've been listening to other people, and I hear them getting the same messages, similar to shedding the ego and ego death and self-discovery, and it's happening now as far as the work of the sun. I'm getting a lot right now too, and I just don't want to get too far off track because I tend to bing, bing, bing. The work of the sun, right? And again, just like I said with the process of the solar flares, this is my experience. This is what resonates with me. This is open for discussion. This is not law. This is just my experience. When I first tapped into my spirituality, I had a lot of religious deprogramming to do. As somebody that was raised very much in a Catholic house and Catholic school my whole life, it was very much drilled in my head that it's one way or hell. And I had a lot of different things come up during the time of my massive awakening in 2020 and 2021 that really tested that for me. And I had a lot of unpacking to do, and I had to do a lot of research and a lot of reading. And for me, Jesus is very much a miracle worker and walk this earth. But there are a lot of texts that are missing. The Bible has been edited and hand selected and put together in certain ways by man, year after year after year after year after year, for the purpose of control, and to pick a message that gets by. But if you really do your research, there's so many texts that went missing or were not included. And Jesus says, and it's even stated in the Bible, that, we are the kingdom of heaven. God, Jesus is us, we are Jesus. And it's like we all possess this. We all have God in us. We all have God in us. And that's, when you really tap into the, most ascended masters, they really become so close to that enlightenment where they can experience a similar viewpoint as Jesus. And we all have the ability to heal. And we have so much untapped in our DNA that has the ability to do these things. And he showed us what is possible. And I'm talking about the sun doing its work. And it's reminding me of something else I wanted to say. I live in the city, so I see a lot of street art, stickers, stuff like that. And last week or so, 2 weeks ago, I saw a sticker that said, Jesus is here. And I observed, because I'm becoming an observer of my thoughts and acknowledging that I'm just the thinker of my thoughts, not so much my thoughts. And I observed how my mind immediately went to, oh, I wonder what country he's in. I wonder what he looks like, right? So that's my programming. And right away, my intuition and soul came through and was like, Jesus is here in all of us through Christ consciousness. Through the Christ consciousness that is awakening across the grid within each one of us light workers. Through the sun doing its work and coming down and shooting down these people. The sun shooting up these people in the form of handing out light to awaken you, to jump you up out of bed. I'm just making this connection. It's so beautiful. So the sun is here doing its work. It's been doing its work, and it's going to continue to do its work here. The same way that it states that, the second coming will take the people, well, the good, whatever, sin is not real, but the good people up, and, we are being taken up, but not in the sense of up and out to a new planet on a spaceship, but up into a higher dimension, a higher state of being, that our earth will experience things that don't look like what we've experienced thus far. This age of control and war and fear and manipulation and evil, corruption and hurting children. It can't exist anymore. Even down to the way that we work, the hustle, it's not working anymore. The ego has to be stripped. So that leads me here. Okay, so we were being instructed to play, okay? We're being instructed to play because we are our inner child in spirit, okay? We need to surround ourselves with beauty and create beauty. So whatever that looks like for you, surround yourself with things that feel beautiful to you, that make you feel alive and invigorated inside. If that means going for a walk to the park, do it. If that's what's going to light you up the most and bring you closer to your content, that thing that makes you feel just good, where you can be in the moment, like things are good, the beach, the nature, a walk in the woods, whatever that is for you, even if it's a houseplant hanging in your window, whatever that looks like, prioritize how you feel by your environment, okay? Because our soul is calling us to come back to self. And I wrote self, and I wrote, who is self? And then they had me write self and make a, I forget the name of it, but like S, setting, E, egotistical, L, living, F, free. I don't know if that exists. I don't know if anyone's ever said that, but I never heard of it. And this came through me so quick that my brain never could have came up with this on its own. Self is setting, egotistical, living, free. Letting go, tower moment, releasing the need to live in a manner that fuels and feeds your ego, like I discussed earlier. Things that make you feel, is it like, oh, I have to wear the latest this, the latest that, you may unconsciously talk down on people because it makes you feel more important, or exclude people, or obsess over the money in the bank, or the appearance, or what people think, or even if it's silent and it's just in your mind, always being ruled by the fears and being kept small because you don't believe that you're worthy or capable or qualified or enough of something to go where your soul's calling you to go. Setting egotistical living free. So all the things that scare you to release, that you know that you should, that are surface level materialism, just a shell blocking the inner fire of the soul that wants to come out. You are being called to set that free so that you can find yourself. When we set that ego free, your vibration immediately rises. When we rise together, the collective vibration rises. And we don't need every single person on this planet to raise their vibration, because it's not going to happen. Not everybody is here to operate of light. But we just need those of us called to raise the vibration, to raise our vibration. And if you're here, you're most likely being called to do so. So you're being called to do this energetic work. Okay? I defined egotistical living as fear, unconscious anger, being overrun by emotions, doing things for show, thinking that the acceptance lies in what other people think of you. Okay? remembering. So if you're somebody that practices prayer, meditation, or yoga regularly, you might have those deep connections and then go about your day and kind of shift to an unconscious being, an unconscious state. This is being called to remember and carry the energy of what you tap into when you are in your moments of meditation, of mindfulness, of yoga, of prayer, and remembering to carry that energy with you throughout the day in your interactions and the way that you interact with the world and with people. Okay? Let yourself receive synchronicities. Synchronicities will fly off the charts. That's how you'll know that you're headed in the right direction. Maybe it's angel numbers. Maybe it's like I said with the moon, like, oh, the trips was moved to the moon and then I got my moon and then the moon, right? Or the ego, or hearing other people saying same messages that I was getting, those synchronicities, the angel numbers. You'll know that you're being spoken to and that you're paying attention when you notice these synchronicities, okay? So the moral of this story was, one, to introduce myself, two, to snap out of my afraid to record YouTube videos box and start to get better with that, to share with you this message of my dream, because you can visualize that. You can see where the ego shifts into soul. It goes from fiery red flames and fear and people that bring up ego in me to peace and inner knowing and soft and handing of light. This is me passing that light bulb to you and it illuminating when you receive this message. And now you can take that light bulb and go pass it to others. Because this isn't something that we're just sitting around waiting for someone to come save us. We are the ones that are saving through activating our own Christ consciousness and acknowledging that God exists in all of us and that we are the light. We are the light, and we are here to hand out the light, and we have the support of the sun and the sun. We have the support of collective messages and being guided and different ways to achieve guidance and mentorships and all that. But we are that source of light, and you have to awaken to it, be open to receiving it so that you can then spread it in your own unique way. And when you shed those egotistical sides of you, and it's not an attack, because we all have them, and it can be painful and hard to let go of these things. I've lost a lot of friends that I thought were friends. I've lost jobs. I've had all kinds of things change, and it's just that knowing of like, okay, like this scares me, or I want to go cling back to that person, even if it doesn't feel aligned. But just this knowing of like, I need to trust that I need to be able to sit in this void, this sense of uncomfortability, to trust that it is bringing me one step closer, shedding another layer, like an onion, bringing me to the core of who I am. Because I don't think I consciously remember or ever have known who I was here in this experience. I remember being young and talking to my higher self, and I didn't know what I was doing at the time. Now I do. I do a lot of hindsight work now that I have this awareness, but, it is all occurring right now. And right now, the biggest thing that you can focus on is acknowledging what is egotistical for you. What are your egotistical tendencies? And how can you shed that? What does that look like for you? Okay? So I hope this video was helpful. I hope you learned something. Maybe you are going to, experiment with thinking about something in a different way than you have before. And I hope that this really pulls you in on your invitation to start spreading light in your way and doing that work of shedding your outer layers to come back home to who you are. Okay. So I would love it if you let me know what you thought in the comments. Do feel free to subscribe. I think I was supposed to say that in the beginning. According to what YouTubers do. But do feel free to subscribe. I'm going to be sharing a lot more videos. I'm going to start bringing my week ahead predictions and tarot readings to YouTube, and kind of steering away from just doing lives on Instagram. So if you are interested in hearing about channeled messages or readings or predictions or just talking about different topics that I feel called to talk about, do feel free to subscribe. And I really look forward to holding this space for you. And You can follow me on Instagram. My name is Kareen of Cups, just like this YouTube channel, Kareen of Cups. I do not ever solicit any readings or services in the DM. I don't have backups. I don't have underscores. There are a lot of scam artists out there really, really, really targeting us in the spiritual community. So if you ever get a DM from me trying to tell you that your beloved ancestors and I want to give you a reading and your profile picture spoke to me, I regret to inform you that it is not me. No honorable spiritual service provider would ever solicit you in that way. But you are more than welcome to look at what I have to offer through my link in bio or my website, kareenofcups.com. I offer things from full-blown mentorships where we dive into your human design. I go into your Akashic records and bring you messages from your Akashic records, one-on-one distance Reiki healing, group Reiki healing sessions, card readings, things of all different types of nature. So you can access that on my website or my link in bio. But again, I will never reach out to you to try to sell it to you. That is certainly going to be a fake account, okay? So I hope you have an amazing day. I hope that whatever sat with you, you remember to bring with you, like stated towards the end. And yeah, all right. Thank you so much for watching this. It means so much, and have an amazing rest of your day or night.